Han Woo-jin yawned as he checked his cargo ship's navigation screen. Another boring supply run to the outer rim territories. Nothing but empty space, distant stars, and the same old shipping containers filled with food supplies and medical equipment. He had been flying this route for 3 years now, and every day felt exactly the same. His ship, the Lucky Dragon, was not much to look at. The paint was chipped, the engines made strange noises, and the coffee maker had been broken for 6 months. But it was his ship, and it got the job done. Woo-jin stretched in his pilot's seat and took another sip of instant coffee from his thermos. The cargo company had given him strict rules. Fly straight to the destination. No stops, no detours. Deliver the cargo and come back. Simple and boring, just the way his boss liked it. Woo-jin had followed these rules perfectly for 3 years. Today was going to be different. A soft beeping sound came from his sensor array. Woo-jin frowned and looked at the screen. There was something out there, drifting near a field of space debris. The sensor showed it was small, maybe the size of a shuttle, but it was not moving under its own power. Woo-jin knew he should ignore it. Company policy was clear about unauthorized stops. But something about the reading bothered him. The object was giving off a weak emergency signal, the kind that meant someone was in trouble. He drummed his fingers on the control panel and looked at the time. He was ahead of schedule by 2 hours. A quick look would not hurt anyone. Besides, space pirates had been active in this area lately. If someone was stranded out here, they would not last long. Woo-jin changed course and flew toward the signal. As he got closer, his sensors gave him a clearer picture. It was definitely an escape pod, and it was in bad shape. The hull showed burn marks and impact damage. Whoever was inside had been through something terrible. He brought the Lucky Dragon alongside the pod and used his ship's mechanical arm to pull it into the cargo bay. The pod was small and sleek, made from materials he did not recognize. The writing on the side was in a language he had never seen before. Woo-jin put on his emergency suit and went down to the cargo bay. The escape pod was sealed tight, but he could see a small window on the front. He wiped away the frost and looked inside. What he saw made him step back in surprise. There was a child inside, but not a human child. Her skin was pale blue, and she had silver hair that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. She was wearing some kind of fancy uniform, but it was torn and dirty. Most importantly, she was barely breathing. The life support indicator on the pod was flashing red. The girl was running out of air. Woo-jin had never seen an alien before, but that did not matter right now. Someone was dying, and he was the only person who could help. He ran back to the cockpit and grabbed his emergency medical kit and portable oxygen tank. Getting the pod open took 20 minutes of careful work with his cutting tools. The alien technology was more advanced than anything he had seen, but the basic principles were the same. When the seal finally broke, stale air rushed out, and Woo-jin quickly placed an oxygen mask over the girl's face. She was cold, too cold. Woo-jin wrapped her in emergency blankets and moved her to his small medical bay. Her pulse was weak but steady. He checked her for injuries and found several cuts and bruises, but nothing that looked life-threatening. The real problem was the air. Whatever atmosphere she needed was different from what humans breathed. The oxygen was helping, but it was not enough. Woo-jin studied the readings from her escape pod and tried to figure out what she needed. The pod's computer was damaged, but some of the environmental data was still readable. The girl needed an atmosphere with more nitrogen and less oxygen than humans. Woo-jin looked around his ship and tried to think of a solution. He was not a doctor or an engineer, but he was good at fixing things. That was why the cargo company hired him. He could keep old ships running with spare parts and creative thinking. Woo-jin spent the next hour modifying his cargo bay's environmental system. He rerouted air from different parts of the ship, adjusted the gas mixture, and created a small sealed area with the atmosphere the girl needed. It was not perfect, but it would keep her alive. As he worked, the girl started to wake up. Her eyes were large and dark, almost black. She looked around with confusion and fear. When she saw Woo-jin, she tried to sit up, but was too weak. "Easy," Woo-jin said in a gentle voice. "You are safe now. Found your escape pod." The girl stared at him and said something in a language that sounded like musical notes. Wu Jin shook his head to show he did not understand. Try it again, this time speaking in broken Galactic common. You ... help me, she asked. Her voice was soft and had a strange accent. Yes, Wu Jin said. I am Wu Jin. What is your name? I am ... Yuna, the girl said slowly. My ship. Pirates attack, I escape, but ... alone for days. Wu Jin felt a surge of anger. Pirates attacking a child was the worst kind of crime. You are safe now, Yuna. I will take you to the nearest space station. Yuna tried to smile, but she was clearly exhausted. Thank you, Wu Jin. You saved my life. My mother will be very grateful. Your mother is probably worried sick, Wu Jin said. We'll contact her as soon as we reach the station. Yes, Yuna said, closing her eyes. Mother rules. Some planets? She has many ships to look for me. Wu Jin nodded. The girl's family was probably wealthy if they had multiple ships. Maybe minor nobles or successful merchants. Either way, they would be happy to get their daughter back safely. He made sure Yuna was comfortable in the modified environmental area and returned to the cockpit. The nearest space station was 6 hours away. He sent a message ahead, explaining that he had rescued a survivor and needed medical assistance for a non-human child. As the Lucky Dragon flew through space toward the station, Wu Jin felt good about what he had done. Sure, he had broken company, Paula said, and his boss would probably yell at him, but saving a life was worth a little trouble. He had no idea that this simple act of kindness was about to change his life forever. The girl sleeping in his cargo bay was not just any child. She was Princess Yuna of the Celestial Empire of Vega, daughter of Empress Guinea, ruler of 847 star systems across 3 galactic arms, and according to ancient vegan law, the person who saves a royal family member's life becomes bound to that family in the most permanent way possible. But for now, Wu Jin just focused on flying his ship and making sure his young passenger stayed safe. After all, it was just another Tuesday in space, and he was just a cargo pilot doing the right thing. 2 weeks had passed since Wu Jin dropped off Princess Yuna at the space station. He had filed his rescue report and gone back to his normal cargo runs. His boss had yelled at him for the delay, but nothing too serious happened. Just another day in the life of a space trucker. Wu Jin was hauling a load of farming equipment to a colony world when his ship's computer started making alarm sounds. Multiple contacts were showing up on his sensors. Big contacts. Really big contacts. What the hell, Wu Jin muttered as he looked at his screen. 20 massive ships had just dropped out of hyperspace around him. These were not cargo ships or pirates. These were military vessels, and they were enormous. The largest ship in the group was the size of a small city. Its hull gleamed silver and gold, covered in symbols and decorations that looked expensive. Smaller escort ships surrounded it, like protective wolves guarding their pack leader. Wu Jin's communication system buzzed with an incoming message. The voice that spoke was crisp and official, using perfect galactic common with a musical accent. He recognized, "Cargo vessel Lucky Dragon, you are ordered to shut down your engines and prepare for boarding. Do not attempt to flee, or you will be destroyed." Wu Jin's hands shook as he powered down his engines. 20 warships were pointing their weapons at his little cargo hauler. Running would be suicide, and he was not stupid enough to try. "This is Lucky Dragon," he replied. "I am shutting down engines and waiting for instructions." "Excellent," voice said. "Prepare your docking bay for the arrival of Her Imperial Majesty." Wu Jin blinked. Imperial Majesty? What kind of trouble had he gotten himself into? His cargo bay was full of farming equipment and spare parts. It was not exactly fit for royalty. A sleek shuttle detached from the massive command ship and flew toward the Lucky Dragon. Wu Jin watched through his cameras as it landed in his cargo bay. The shuttle was beautiful, made from the same silver material as the big ships, flowing lines that looked more like art than machinery. The shuttle's door opened and soldiers in ceremonial armor stepped out. They carried weapons that hummed with energy and moved with perfect discipline. Behind them came a woman who made Wu Jin's breath catch in his throat. She was tall and elegant. with the same pale blue skin and silver hair as Yuna, but where the girl had looked young and fragile, this woman radiated power and authority. She wore robes that seemed to shift color in the light, a crown that looked like it was made from captured starlight. Wu Jin realized this had to be Yuna's mother, the woman who ruled some planets according to her daughter. Looking at the massive fleet outside his ship, Wu Jin was starting to think Yuna had been modest about her family's influence. The woman walked through his cargo bay like she owned it, her soldiers forming a protective circle around her. She moved with the confidence of someone who had never been told no in her entire life. Wu Jin met them at the entrance to his ship's main corridor. He tried to bow politely, but he had no idea what the proper protocol was for meeting alien royalty. "Are Han Wu Jin?" the woman said. It was not a question. "Your Majesty," Wu Jin replied, hoping he was using the right title. "I am Empress Janae of the Celestial Empire of Vega, ruler of the 847 systems, protector of the stellar winds, and guardian of the sacred flame." She paused and looked directly into his eyes. I am also Yuna's mother." Wu Jin swallowed hard. 847 star systems. That was not some planets. That was half the galaxy. "I am honored to meet you, Empress," Wu Jin said. "I hope Yuna is doing well after her ordeal." "My daughter is completely recovered thanks to your actions," Janae said, "which is why I am here." She gestured to one of her soldiers, who stepped forward, carrying a large box made from the same silver material as their ships. The soldier placed it at Wu Jin's feet and stepped back. "You saved the life of a member of the vegan royal family," Janae continued. "According to our most ancient laws, this deed cannot go unrewarded." Wu Jin looked at the box nervously. "Really, Your Majesty? I don't need any reward. I just did what anyone would do." Janae smiled, and it was not entirely friendly. "But you are not anyone, Han Wu Jin. You're the man who saved my daughter when no one else could. You risked your life and career to help a stranger. Such actions have consequences." She opened the box with a dramatic flourish. Inside was a set of robes similar to hers, but in deep blue and silver. Next to the robes was a crown, smaller than hers, but still magnificent. According to vegan royal law, the person who saves a member of the imperial family becomes bound to that family forever, Janae explained. "You are hereby declared my consort and Yuna's adoptive father. Congratulations." Wu Jin stared at the contents of the box, then at the Empress, then back at the box. "I'm sorry, what? You heard correctly," Janae said. "We will be married in a traditional bonding ceremony. I have already chosen the location. The Luna colony will serve as neutral ground, honoring both human and vegan customs." Wait, Wu Jin said, holding up his hands. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm just a cargo pilot. I'm not qualified to marry an Empress." "That is not your decision to make," Janae said firmly. "The law is clear. You saved my daughter, and now you belong to our family. The ceremony will take place in 1 week." One of her soldiers, a tall man with silver hair and cold eyes, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should explain the alternative to Mr. Han." Janae nodded. "Admiral Kyun Cho is correct. If you refuse this honor, it will be considered a grave insult to the entire vegan empire. We would have no choice but to declare war on your species." Wu Jin's mouth fell open. "War? Over a marriage? The laws of our people are sacred, Admiral," Kyung Ho said. "To refuse the Empress's offer would be the same as spitting on 800 years of tradition. Billions would die in the resulting conflict." Wu Jin looked around his small cargo ship. Outside, 20 massive warships waited for his answer. Inside, an alien Empress was calmly explaining how his refusal to marry her would start an interstellar war. "This is insane," he said quietly. "This is law," Janae replied. "But do not worry, Han Wu Jin. You will find that being consort to an Empress has many benefits. You will have wealth beyond imagination, power over star systems, and the finest of everything the galaxy has to offer." "What if I don't want wealth and power?" Wu Jin asked. "Then you are even more suitable than I thought," Janae said with genuine warmth in her voice. A man who cannot be corrupted by riches is exactly what our empire needs. She turned to leave, her soldiers falling in behind her. The ceremony will be held on Luna in 7 days. I suggest you use that time too. Prepare yourself. Being married to me will not be boring. As the shuttle departed and the fleet prepared to leave, Wu Jin sat alone in his cargo bay, staring at the box of royal clothes. 2 weeks ago, his biggest worry was delivering farming equipment on time. He was engaged to an alien Empress, and responsible for preventing an interstellar war. He picked up his communication device and called his best friend.
Captain Park Dong-han?
This was definitely not something he could handle alone. Dong-han, he said when his friend answered, I need your help. I think I'm about to become alien royalty, and I have no idea what I'm doing. There was a long pause.
Wu Jin, are you?
Drunk? I wish I was, Wu Jin replied, looking out at the stars where the Empress's fleet had disappeared. I really, really wish I was. Wu Jin sat in the common room of Luna Colony's visitor center, staring at a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. His friend Captain Park Dong-hyun sat across from him, still trying to process everything Wu Jin had told him. Get this straight, Dong-hyun said slowly. You saved a kid from a broken escape pod, and now her mother wants to marry you to prevent an interstellar war. That's the basic idea. Yes, Wu Jin replied. And her mother happens to rule almost half the known galaxy. 847 star systems to be exact. Dong-hyun rubbed his temples. Oh, Wu Jin, you have the worst luck in the universe. Before Wu Jin could answer, a woman with short black hair and a lab coat approached their table. She looked tired but excited, like someone who had been working all night on an interesting problem. Excuse me, she said. Are you Han Wu Jin? The one who's going to marry Empress Guinea? Wu Jin sighed. Word travels fast around here. I'm Dr. Lee Soman. The woman said, sitting down without being invited. I'm a xenobiologist here at Luna Colony. I study alien cultures and biology. Been researching vegan customs all night since the news broke. Please tell me you found a way out of this, Wu Jin said, hopefully. Dr. Soman shook her head. I'm afraid not. Vegan bonding ceremonies are incredibly sacred to their culture. Breaking one would be like, imagine if someone came to Earth and decided to burn down every church, temple, and holy site at the same time. That bad? Dong-hyun asked. Worse, Soman replied. The vegans have a saying, a bond forged in gratitude is stronger than diamond, and more precious than starlight. When you saved Princess Yuna, you created a debt that can only be paid through marriage. Wu Jin put his head in his hands. There has to be something. Some loophole or exception? Actually, there might be, Salman said carefully. But you're not going to like it. Both men looked at her expectantly. I think the Empress has other reasons for wanting this marriage, Soman continued. It's not just about following the law. She's making a political move. Dr. Soman pulled out a tablet and showed them a star chart. The vegan empire is huge, but it's not stable. 3 major noble houses have been challenging Jinneh's rule for the past 5 years. They claim she's too weak to lead because she's a widow with only 1 child. What does that have to do with me? Wu Jin asked. Humans have a reputation in this part of the galaxy, Suman explained. We're known for being unpredictable, creative, and excellent in combat. By marrying a human, Jinneh is sending a message to her enemies. She's showing them that she has new allies and new ideas. Dong-hyun frowned. So he's not just a husband, he's a weapon. More like a symbol, Soman said. But symbols can be very powerful in politics. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. A group of colony security guards had formed a protective circle around someone, and tourists were taking pictures with their communication devices. Oh no, Wu Jin muttered as he saw familiar silver hair through the crowd. Princess Yuna broke free from the guards and ran straight to their table. She looked much healthier than when Wu Jin had found her, wearing a simple blue dress instead of her torn uniform. But her eyes still held the same mixture of intelligence and sadness he remembered Wu Jin, she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him. I told Mother I wanted to see you before the ceremony. Hello, Yuna, Wu Jin said gently. How are you feeling? Much better, thanks to you, she replied, sitting down next to him. Are these your friends? Wu Jin introduced Dong Hain and Dr. Soman. Yuna shook their hands politely. Every inch the well-trained princess, despite her young age. I wanted to thank you again, Yuna said to Wu Jin, and to tell you that I'm happy you're going to be my new father. The words hit Wu Jin like a physical blow. He had been so focused on the politics and the absurdity of the situation that he had forgotten about the girl at the center of it all. Yuna, he said carefully, you know this is all very complicated, right? I'm not sure I'm the right person to be your father. The girl's expression became serious, making her look much older than her 12 years. My real father died in the same attack where you found me. The pirates destroyed our ship and killed everyone except me. The table fell silent. Even Dr. Somin stopped taking notes. Mother has been very sad since then, Yuna continued. She tries to hide it, but I can tell. She works all day and night, fighting with the noble houses and trying to keep our empire together. She never smiles anymore. I'm sorry, Wu Jin said quietly. I didn't know about your father. When she told me about the bonding ceremony, saw her smile for the first time in months, Yuna said. I think she likes you, not just because of the law, but because you're kind. You saved me when you didn't have to. Yuna looked directly at Wu Jin with eyes that seemed far too mature for her face. But maybe it's not just about what you want. Maybe it's about what we need. Dr. Soman cleared her throat. Yuna, can I ask you something about the noble houses that oppose your mother? House Taehain, House Menesio, and House Jaewook. Yuna replied without hesitation. They think mother is weak because she grieves for father. So they don't understand that grief makes her stronger, not weaker. Are they dangerous? Dongyin asked. Yuna's expression darkened. Very dangerous. They have ships and soldiers, and they want to overthrow mother. I heard Admiral Kyung-ho telling her that they might try something during the bonding ceremony. Wu Jin felt a chill run down his spine. Try something? Like what? Like killing both of you, Yuna said matter-of-factly. If mother dies, and you die, they can put one of their own people on the throne. They think a dead empress is better than a weak one. Dr. Soman and Dong Han exchanged worried glances. What had started as a political marriage was turning into something much more dangerous. Yuna, Wu Jin said, Does your mother know you're here? The girl shook her head. I told my guards I wanted to see the Luna Colony Museum. They don't know I came to find you? We should get you back to them, Wu Jin said, standing up. They're probably worried. As they walked toward the entrance, Yuna grabbed Wu Jin's hand. Will you really go through with the ceremony? Even knowing how dangerous it might be? Wu Jin looked down at the girl who had already lost so much. He thought about her mother, trying to hold an empire together while grieving for her husband. He thought about the billions of people who would suffer if this marriage fell apart. I don't know, he said honestly, but I promise I'll think about it very carefully. Yuna smiled, and for a moment she looked like a normal 12-year-old, instead of an alien princess carrying the weight of an empire. It's all I can ask for. She said, just remember, sometimes the best families are the ones you choose, not the ones you're born into. As the security guards escorted Yuna back to her ship, Wu Jin realized that his decision was becoming much more complicated than just avoiding a war. There were real people involved now, people who needed him. The question was he brave enough to be the man they needed him to be? The bonding ceremony was set to begin in 6 hours, and Luna Colony had been transformed into something that looked like a scene from a fairy tale. Silver banners hung from every building, displaying the royal symbols of the vegan empire. Thousands of guests from dozens of different species had arrived for what everyone was calling the most important wedding in galactic history. Wu Jin stood in his assigned quarters, staring at himself in the mirror. The ceremonial robes Empress Jin-A had given him fit perfectly, but he felt like he was wearing a costume for a play he had never auditioned for. The deep blue fabric seemed to shimmer with its own light, and the silver crown felt heavier than it looked. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called. Admiral Kung-ho entered, looking more serious than usual. The tall, vegan military commander had been polite but distant during the ceremony preparations, clearly skeptical about his empress marrying a human cargo pilot. Mr. Han Kyung-ho said formally, We need to talk. If this is about me not being good enough for your Empress, I already know that, Wu Jin replied. This is about keeping both of you alive, Kunho said bluntly. My intelligence officers have confirmed that all 3 opposing houses have representatives here for the ceremony. House Taehan, House Minesco, and House Jaewook are planning something. Wu Jin felt his stomach drop. What kind of something? The kind that ends with you and the Empress dead, Kunho replied. We have intercepted communications between their agents. They plan to strike during the ceremony when both of you will be in the same place at the same time. Can't you just arrest them? Wu Jin asked. On what charges? Planning to attend a wedding? Kunho shook his head. They are noble houses, with ancient rights and privileges. Cannot move against them without solid proof of wrongdoing. So what do you suggest? Cancel the ceremony, return to your cargo ship and leave this sector. The Empress will understand. Wu Jin looked at the Admiral in surprise. I thought you wanted this marriage to happen, for the good of the Empire and all that. I want the Empress to live, Kunjo said quietly. She's already lost too much. If something happens to her during this ceremony, I will never forgive myself for allowing it. Before Wu Jin could respond, another knock came at the door. Dr. Soman and Captain Dong Han entered together, both looking excited about something. Wu Jin, we need to talk, Soman said. We have an idea? Let me guess, Wu Jin said. Away and hide until this all blows over. Actually, the opposite, Dong Han said with a grin. We want to use the ceremony as bait to catch the conspirators. Admiral Kung Ho looked offended. Absolutely not. The risk is too great. The risk is already there, Soman pointed out. These noble houses aren't going to give up just because you postpone the ceremony. They'll just find another opportunity. What exactly are you proposing? Wu Jin asked. Dr. Soman pulled out her tablet and showed them a layout of the ceremony area. Instead of a traditional vegan ceremony, we suggest doing something more human style. Get informal with lots of movement and interaction. That will force the assassins to adapt their plans on the spot. Humans are good at improvisation, Dong Han added. But most other species prefer rigid planning. If we keep changing things up, we can throw them off balance. This is madness, Kung Ho said. The ceremony has been planned according to 800-year-old traditions. You cannot just change everything at the last minute. Why not? Asked, it's my wedding too, right? Don't I get a say in how it happens? Admiral Kuncho stared at him. You want to go through with this? Even knowing the danger? Wu Jin thought about Princess Yuna, who had already lost her father and was terrified of losing her mother too. He thought about Empress Janae, trying to hold an empire together while dealing with grief and political enemies. He thought about the billions of people who would suffer if the vegan empire collapsed into civil war. Yes, he said finally. Want to go through with it, but we're going to do it my way. Dr. Soman smiled. What did you have in mind? Something the conspirators won't expect, Wu Jin said. Something completely human. 2 hours later, the formal ceremony area had been completely rearranged. Instead of rigid rows of seats facing a single altar, round tables were scattered. Throughout the space, a dance floor had been set up in the center, and the colony's food service had prepared a buffet instead of a formal banquet. Empress. Janae stood in her preparation chamber, looking at the changes through her window. She wore traditional wedding robes that seemed to be made from captured moonlight, and her silver hair was arranged in an elaborate style that had taken her attendants 3 hours to complete. Your Majesty, one of her advisors said nervously, the human has completely changed the ceremony. This is highly irregular. It's highly interesting, Janae replied. I am curious to see what my future husband has planned. Princess Yuna entered the chamber, wearing a smaller version of her mother's ceremonial robes. Mother, are you nervous? Little Janae admitted. It has been a long time since I felt nervous about anything. Do you like Wu Jin? Ina asked directly. Janae considered the question carefully. I like that he saved my daughter without asking for anything in return. I like that he is brave enough to go through with this ceremony despite the danger. And I like that he is not afraid to change things when they need changing. That sounds like more than just following the law, Yuna observed. Perhaps it is, Janae said with a small smile. Perhaps this marriage will be more than just a political necessity. Meanwhile, in the main ceremony area, Wu Jin was making final preparations with his friends. Dong Haiyan was coordinating with Luna Colony Security. To position guards in unexpected places, Dr. Soman was briefing the catering staff on what to watch for among the guests. "Are you ready for this?" Dong Haiyan asked. "No," Wu Jin said honestly, "but I'm going to do it anyway." "That's very human of you," Dr. Soman said approvingly, as the first guests began to arrive. Wu Jin could see the confusion on their faces. Representatives from dozens of species had come expecting a traditional vegan ceremony, full of formal rituals and ancient protocols. Instead, they found themselves at what looked like a human celebration, complete with music, dancing, and informal seating. Among the crowd, Wu Jin spotted the representatives from the three opposing houses. They looked uncomfortable and kept checking their communication devices. Their carefully planned assassination was already falling apart, and the ceremony had not even started yet. Admiral Kung Ho approached Wu Jin, looking grudgingly impressed. "This is either the bravest thing I have ever seen, or the stupidest." "Probably both," Wu Jin replied. "But that's what makes it human." As the ceremony began, Wu Jin realized that he was no longer just trying to prevent a war or follow alien law. He was fighting for a family he had never expected to have, in a battle he had never trained for. Using weapons, he was still learning to understand. The most dangerous part was just beginning. The ceremony had been going perfectly for exactly 23 minutes, when everything went wrong. Wu-Jin and Empress Jin were in the middle of exchanging traditional vows when the lights suddenly went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a second. Later, bathing the ceremony area in red light that made everyone look like they were covered in blood. "Get down," Admiral Kuncho shouted as armed figures in black. Masks appeared at the entrances to the ceremony area. The assassins had expected to find a formal ceremony with predictable positions and clear lines of sight. Instead, they found chaos. Guests were scattered around small tables instead of sitting in neat rows. The dance floor in the center meant there were no clear shots at the altar. Worst of all, Wu Jin had insisted on a human tradition where the bride and groom moved around during the ceremony, greeting their guests. The leader of the assassins spoke into his communication device, clearly frustrated. "The targets are not in position. Repeat, the targets are not where they should be." Wu Jin grabbed Ginny's hand and pulled her toward the nearest table. "So much for a peaceful wedding," he said. "I find this much more interesting than standing still for 2 hours," Janae replied, surprisingly calm for someone being shot at. "Are all humans this insane?" she asked, as laser blasts flew over their heads. "Pretty much," Wu Jin said, looking around for anything he could use as a weapon. His eyes fell on the catering station, where several large containers of food were waiting to be served. The assassins were trying to move through the crowd systematically, but the informal seating arrangement made it impossible. Guests from different species were panicking in different ways. Some dove under tables, others tried to fight back, and a few just stood, they're looking confused. Dr. Soman had taken cover behind the gift table and was shouting into her communication. "Device security to the ceremony hall. We have multiple armed intruders." Captain Dong Haiyan had somehow gotten his hands on one of the decorative ceremonial weapons from the wall display. It was not designed for actual combat, but it was better than nothing. He was trying to work his way around to flank the attackers. "Wu Jin?" Princess Yuna's voice cut through the noise. She was trapped near the entrance with several other young guests, right in the path of the advancing assassins. Without thinking, Wu Jin sprinted toward the catering station. The containers there were filled with a traditional vegan dish that looked like purple soup, but smelled terrible. He grabbed the largest container and hurled it at the assassins near Yuna. The container burst open, covering 3 of the masked figures in sticky purple mess. They stumbled and slipped, their weapons clattering to the floor. Yuna used the distraction to dive under a nearby table. "Food fight." Dong Haiyan yelled, apparently deciding that if they were going to be ridiculous, they might as well commit to it. What happened next would be talked about in diplomatic circles for years to come. The most formal ceremony in vegan history turned into the galaxy's most expensive food fight. Guests started throwing everything they could get their hands on. Ceremonial fruit, fancy desserts, and expensive wine flew through the air. The assassins found themselves slipping on cake frosting and dodging flying dinner rolls while trying to complete their mission. Their careful military planning had not prepared them for combat in a room full of panicked wedding guests. Armed with catering supplies, Janae grabbed a heavy serving tray and used it as a shield while moving toward her daughter.
As
This is definitely not in the traditional ceremony handbook, she said. Admiral Kung Ho and his security forces finally arrived, but they could barely see through all the flying food. The red emergency lighting made everything look surreal, like a battle scene, painted by someone having a fever dream. Your Majesty, where are you? Kung Ho called out. Over here, Janae replied, ducking as a wedding cake flew over her head and splattered against the wall. Wu Jin had made it to the Luna colony's atmospheric control panel near the back wall. Dr. Soman had shown it to him earlier during their planning session. He started adjusting the air mixture in the room, making it thicker and harder to breathe. The assassins, who were not used to Luna colony's atmosphere anyway, started moving more slowly. Their aim got worse as they struggled to breathe properly. Meanwhile, the wedding guests, who had been breathing Luna's air for hours or days, barely noticed the change. That's cheating, one of the assassins complained, apparently forgetting that he was trying to murder people at a wedding. All's fair in love and war, Wu Jin called back, continuing to adjust the atmospheric controls. Princess Yuna had somehow gotten hold of the ceremonial fireworks that were supposed to be used for the celebration finale. She started setting them off inside the ceremony hall, adding explosions of colored light to the chaos. The combination of food, atmospheric manipulation, and fireworks was too much for the assassins. They started falling back toward the exits, but Admiral Kung Ho's forces had surrounded the building. The leader of the assassins made one last desperate attempt to complete his mission. He spotted Empress Janae, helping an injured guest, and raised his weapon for a clear shot. Wu Jin saw what was happening and did the most human thing possible. He grabbed a chair and threw it as hard as he could. The chair hit the assassin in the chest, knocking him backward into a table covered with wedding gifts. The crash brought down a decorative arch that's been set up for photos. The arch landed on two more assassins, pinning them to the floor under several hundred pounds of carved stone and metal flowers. Is everyone all right? Dr. Soman called out as the last of the assassins was subdued. Wu Jin looked around the ceremony hall. It looked like a bomb had gone off in a bakery. Purple soup dripped from the walls. Wedding cake was smeared on the ceiling. Colored smoke from the fireworks made everything look like a rainbow had exploded. Janae stood in the middle of it all, her perfect ceremonial robes covered in food stains and her elaborate hairstyle completely ruined. She had frosting in her hair and what looked like gravy on her crown. She looked absolutely beautiful, she said, looking around at the destruction. This was certainly more exciting than my first wedding. Yuna ran to her mother and hugged her tightly. Are you hurt? Not a scratch, Janae said, then looked at Wu Jin. Your human approach to problem solving is very effective. It's not over yet, Admiral Kung Ho said, approaching with several prisoners in custody. We need to interrogate these assassins and find out who sent them. I think we already know, Janae said, looking at the defeated attackers. The question is what we do about it. Wu Jin wiped cake frosting out of his eyes and realized something important. For the first time since this whole crazy adventure began, he felt like he was exactly where he belonged, even if that place was standing in the ruins of the most disastrous wedding ceremony in galactic history. 6 months after the most chaotic wedding ceremony in galactic history, Wu Jin sat in his cargo ship's pilot seat, but things were very different now. The Lucky Dragon still looked like the same old beat-up cargo hauler, but it now traveled with an escort of 12 vegan warships wherever it went. Dad, you're doing it wrong again, Princess Yuna said from the co-pilot seat, pointing at his navigation display. I've been flying cargo ships since before you were born, Wu Jin replied with a smile. Yes, but you've only been flying through vegan space for 6 months, Yuna pointed out. The hyperspace routes here are different. She was right, of course. Yuna had insisted on learning to pilot cargo ships, and she was already better at it than most humans twice her age. She had also insisted on calling him Dad in 7 different languages, which never failed to make him feel warm inside. "Your Imperial Majesty," came Admiral Kung Ho's voice over the communication system. "We are approaching the Nexus station, your husband's. Creative cargo route has saved us 2 days of travel time." In the months since their wedding, Admiral Kuncho had learned to appreciate Wu Jin's unconventional approach to problems. The human habit of making it up as you go had revolutionized vegan military tactics in ways no one had expected. "Tell the Admiral we'll dock in Base 7, Wu Jin said to Yuna. "Why Base 7? She asked. "Because that's where the best noodle shop is," Wu Jin replied. Yuna laughed. "You're teaching an interstellar empire to make decisions based on food quality. It's worked out pretty well so far. It had worked out well." The 3 noble houses that had tried to assassinate them during the wedding ceremony had been exposed and disbanded. Their supporters had either switched sides or quietly disappeared. The vegan empire was more stable than it had been in decades. More importantly, the marriage between Wu Jin and Empress Janae had turned into something neither of them had expected. It started as a political necessity, but somewhere between the food fight wedding and the joint military campaigns, they had become genuine partners as they docked at Nexus Station. Wu Jin received the usual flood of messages from other cargo pilots asking for advice. Word had spread throughout human space that one of their own had married an alien empress and was now helping to run a galactic empire. Wu Jin came a familiar voice over the communicator. "This is Captain Park Dong-hyun. It's married life." "Treating you better than expected," Wu Jin replied. "How are things back on Earth?" "Busy. Half the cargo pilots in the galaxy are trying to rescue alien princesses now, hoping to get lucky like you did." Wu Jin laughed. "Oh. Tell them it's not as easy as it looks. I'll pass that along." "Oh." And Dr. Soman says hello. She's been offered positions at 5 different alien universities to study human-alien cultural integration. She deserves it. Her research saved our lives during the wedding. After closing the communication channel, Wu Jin and Yuna made their way to the station's diplomatic quarters. Empress Janae was already there, having arrived earlier with the main fleet. She was in the middle of a meeting with several planetary governors, but she looked up and smiled when they entered. "How was the cargo run?" she asked. "Educational," Wu Jin replied. "Yuna is officially a better pilot than I am." "I learned from the best," Yuna said, hugging both her parents. The sight of the 3 of them together still surprised people. A human cargo pilot, an alien empress, and their adopted daughter made an unusual family, but it worked. They had found a balance between human informality and vegan tradition that somehow satisfied both cultures. The governors want to implement your supply chain improvements on their worlds, Janae told Wu Jin. "Which ones?" "All of them." Wu Jin had accidentally revolutionized interstellar commerce by applying simple human logistics principles to alien trade networks. Things like deliver what people actually need and ask the customers what they want had been completely foreign concepts to the vegan bureaucracy. "Your Majesty," one of the governors said hesitantly, "there is one small problem with the new trade routes." "What kind of problem?" Janae asked. "Well, the human approach to business has been very successful. It's also been ... chaotic. Our carefully planned 5-year economic projections are useless when cargo pilots keep finding faster routes and better deals." Wu Jin grinned. "Welcome to the free market." Later that evening, the 3 of them sat in their private quarters, sharing a meal that combined human and vegan cuisine. It had become their daily tradition, one of many compromises they had worked out over the months. "I received an interesting message today," Janae said. "The Galactic Council wants to establish a new position, Human Cultural Advisor. They want someone to help other species understand how humans think and operate." "Are they offering me the job?" Wu Jin asked. "They're offering it to all of us," Janae replied. "As a family unit. Apparently our success has convinced them that human-alien cooperation has enormous potential." "What would that mean?" Yuna asked. It would mean traveling to different worlds, helping solve problems, and teaching other species about human adaptability, Guinea explained. So basically what we're already doing, but with official recognition, Wujin said. And probably more food fights, Yuna added with a grin. Wujin looked around the table at his unlikely family. 6 months ago, he had been a simple cargo pilot, with no responsibilities beyond delivering supplies on time. Now he was consort to an empress, father to an alien princess, and apparently a galactic diplomatic advisor. You know what? He said finally. I think I like this new life. Even though you never asked for it? Janae asked. Especially because I never asked for it, Wujin replied. The best things in life usually happen when you're not looking for them. Just then, his communication device started beeping with an emergency signal. All three of them looked at it with a mixture of anticipation and dread. Another distress call? Yuna asked. Wujin checked the display. Someone was stranded in the Outer Rim, just like Yuna had been 6 months ago. Just like dozens of others had been since word got out that Wujin never ignored a call for help. Janae sighed and began giving orders to her fleet commanders. Admiral Kuncho prepared the ships for immediate departure. My husband has found another person to rescue, Your Majesty, came the Admiral's weary voice. Perhaps we should mention that responding to every distress call is not standard Imperial policy. It is now, Guinea replied firmly. Human policy is now Imperial policy. We help people who need help. As the vegan fleet changed course to respond to the distress call, Wujin realized something important. He had not just married into an alien family, he had changed an entire civilization, and they had changed him in return. The cargo pilot, who had saved a lost child, had become something he never expected, a hero who helped build bridges between species. One rescue at a time, and somewhere out there in the vast darkness of space, another person in trouble was about to discover that help could come from the most unexpected places. After all, it was just another day in the life of the galaxy's most unlikely family.